in-season soccer athlete. And then from there, we'll go into some chapter 15 and 16 review. And so I wanted to, I didn't know if you had typed it up. I just typed up your program for you, Megan. That way I can just pull it up on my screen. That way you can kind of talk about it.
Cool.
Let me pull up. And then you can, I don't think on the picture you sent me, you didn't do like reps and stuff. So you could talk about like sets and reps on this.
Okay.
All right. All right, cool. So I'll flip it over to you. If you want to maybe give just a couple of details, like quick age and needs analysis, if you wanted to kind of review any injuries or anything like that.
So I put it on the side, but it's probably really small to tell. So like needs, so obviously hitting like all three systems, because you'll see a like long endurance, so it's like 45 minutes, 90-minute plus game, but also you have the quick movements as well. And then injury-wise, obviously, ACLs, concussions, sprains, strains, hamstrings, groins, looking at all of those. And then when you're looking at that, like the movement, so like for warm-up-wise, obviously, we're talking about, ramp?
Yeah.
So you want to, I was like, usually from my experience too, so like playing in college, maybe it could be different, but we would usually start off with like a jog before we went into the weight room, and then we get into like some lunges, some hip movements, hip mobility, so open, close the door, leg swings, inchworm, fire hydrants, all that stuff. And then in season, like we were saying before, it is very taxing, so we're not looking at like, for anything like 1 rep max or anything like that. Still hitting heavy weights, but knowing that, hey, like we're going to have 2 games a week. Same thing twice with an additional optional one if you want to do a third lift. But that's what I have from there.
Okay.
So then age-wise, I guess 19, 20-year-old. Yeah. So not necessarily like freshman, but sophomore, junior maybe, so a little bit more experience, I guess.
Okay.
And then going into it, not specifically like they had an injury, but just knowing based off of the injuries, like you want to do a lot of unilateral work, specifically too, because all of the cutting that's going to be involved, change direction and all that.
Mm-hmm. So
then I decided in the beginning, like movement, because like we said, like trying to do the quick movements first. Even it is a lot of focus on lower body, incorporating some upper body movement, because you still be able to, in the positions, like hold off somebody or push somebody off. So still having the presses, rows, incorporated carries at the end too, single arm carries. I remember doing a lot of that stuff as well, in core movements. So that's what I had. I think at the end, I think it was like 3 sets of like 2 to 3 sets of like 6, 4 to 6, and then not 4 to 6, and then I think like 8 for Bulgarians, single.
Cool. See, and what were you? What did you say that I missed for hand cleans? What were you thinking for? You said is that 2 to 3 sets of 4 to 6?
Yeah.
All right. And then how about pistols? I just want to update it on here.
6. I'd say 6.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's
but I'm not sure. For us, it was more like the one where you have like a 5-pound plate and you're just getting more, trying to just get in the movement, not necessarily trying to go heavy once again.
Definitely.
Presses, like 8.
Yeah, like 8. Yeah, kind of staying at somewhat kind of strength, the strength range. Why do you think?
Like 6, 8. Yeah, 8.
Yeah, like that.
I don't know. That one you can do as many, like maybe 10 each or something. It's not like heavy.
Like 12 each.
Just focusing on form there.
How about Bulgarians?
Bulgarians looking at like 8 each too. Even maybe Bulgarian suck. Obviously, everyone knows that. So
8 is my max. That's something about that 10 on those Bulgarians.
So I'd say that. Dumbbell rows. I remember doing sometime 10 too, but I mean, I guess also sticking to the 8.
10 is fine for this. I mean, it's still, I mean, it'll really be their only true kind of pull exercise of the day. So you can add a little bit more there.
Plank slides, I think it was like 12, 15.
Yeah. All right. And then were you thinking for the last set, were you thinking kind of more just like a kind of more anaerobic endurance for this, or more like a kind of like a cardio finisher? What were you thinking?
Yeah, like a little finisher.
Yeah.
So like lighter weight, I don't know, 12, 15 maybe. It's like max, like lighter. Push-ups would be kind of like not AMRAP for all of them, but like a decent amount.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Say like AMRAP or 15 to 20 maybe.
Yeah. So depending on like obviously how much people could push up. And single arm carry, it was a distance there and back 3 times.
Yeah. We'll say 20 yards. I don't know, 20 yards. Let's say.
Yeah.
Cool. And did you say and did you say in season, is it typically you typically get 1 lift session per week, or would you say 2, or what's kind of the average while in season?
Yeah, I would say in the beginning it would be 2, but near the end, especially depending on position and how many minutes you're playing, it'd probably be 1, and the other one would be more like not necessarily recovery, but just making sure you're moving the body type of thing.
Exactly. Like, yeah, because that's a great point. And I think that's important to kind of realize, like, even within the season, you're going to have variance in and how much you're doing in the weight room. Because, kind of start of the season, leading up to competition, obviously the body's fresher. You want to make sure you're peaking. So, you're hitting some of those explosive movements, heavy. But then, later on in the season, it might just be more of that maintenance for durability, where you're just doing mobility, maybe 1 set of everything. You really focus more on just kind of like just durability and mobility based exercises.
Yeah, I'd say like specifically too, like depending, so like our center backs versus like like midfielder or like forward, and like goalkeepers too, like so some of them might be changed up based on position too. But
that's actually something I was wondering about, like how because that's that always matters so much with the sports, especially like a soccer. So how different what weight room or what training programs look like from position to position? Like obviously I'm assuming a goalie doesn't need to do everything a midfielder is doing, etc. So like how do they typically what are the differences, if there are some?
Yeah, I will like it would be more apparent for like the running for sure too, but I would say our like keepers would get into like a little bit heavier lifts, especially like squats, and we didn't bench that much, but when we did, they did more upper body movements. I would say the keepers, just because they're doing that and reaction stuff. But like this, they still do the same movements. You just might see like some people are hitting a little bit heavier than others, type of scenario. And like for like, I mean, it could be depending on the school too, but like for us, at least like for running wise, we had like midfielders, forwards and stuff have to hit this number versus our keepers. We know, they're more quick movements. So maybe we're not hitting 20 reps of like 100-yard sprints under 15 seconds. Knowing that would be specific for that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And so let's just kind of, we'll have to write it out, but like, maybe what like kind of like I guess like field or sprint work? Obviously, I know you like practice, but like what kind of like I guess sprint or agility work would you all do for like an in-season session? Or how would that look?
Yeah, we would do a lot of different types of shuttles. So not like obviously we know the 300-yard shuttle, so we've done those ones, but we've also do longer ones, and we would do more in-game scenarios. So like we've just played a small side like game, and then you have to run back like on the whistle. You have to run to the other court and back in a certain amount of time, and then start the next game. So we do a lot of in practice running as well.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm sure it's not that much time for like completely separate agility and shuttle days. Throwing them within the practice set makes the most sense.
Yeah. We definitely have punishment running as well too, so that's great.
Yeah, got to throw some of that in, of course.
Yeah.
But nah, yeah, that is so important. I think it's important. Like, and how many like when you play, how many strength coaches do y'all usually have on hand for a lift? Would it be one or two?
So we'd have one main one, and then depending on the days, because there's different sports and stuff. If people were there, we'd have like 3 or 4, I'd say. But then we'd also have a lot of interns too. So
That's typically
have, like, the same person all the time, and then maybe 1 or 2 other ones help if the other sports didn't need them, and then a lot of interns.
Yep, exactly. So that's I asked that question since we're on it. This is more for our like facilities and organization chapter. But does anybody know how many what's the ratio that you have to have for strength coaches to athletes when in the training room?
1 to 20.
Yep, exactly. 1 to every 20. So again, kind of as Megan just said, for how many people are on a college soccer team?
25.
Yeah. So again, so you have like one guy, and then like you said, the interns or people assisting. Or the sport like football, again, we would have over 50 people in there. You would have really 2 to 3 main guys, and typically like 2 more interns on average. So yeah, but you remember that ratio is going to be 1 to 20. So if there's more than 20 athletes in the building, there needs to be more than it needs to be more than 1 coach in attendance. Any questions or anything else about this program, or anything you feel like left out, Megan?
Like cool down, I guess, or I don't know. It's also different, I guess, for collegiate, because a lot of times you have people going from class and going out to class. So
yeah,
dependent on it.
Yeah, solid. So did you just had talk to us about where you just went for with the national team. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so I'm half Dominican, so I play for the Dominican national team. I went out there a week ago or so. I think like a week ago or whatever. So I went out there, we played a game. We played against Bermuda, and then we traveled over to Jamaica and played there. And I played with them a couple times before that too. And it's the same thing. It's like, it's not like we're in season all together. Like we have a camp, essentially is what it's called, and you train there. This time it was a little bit better than the past. Obviously the DR is not a big money country, a little bit poorer than other countries. But we did have a strength coach, and the sessions we had, like in the hotel, we would have days where we would just do flexibility stuff, and then we'd do like strength stuff. And then same thing, like if you played this amount of minutes, you would do this. If you didn't play, you would do this type of scenario. So that was cool to have. And see, I guess if there's any questions about that, I don't know.
No, that's dope. Was this your first time playing since the injury?
No, this was my 4th time playing since the injury. Yeah, but we'll get back to that to see if anything else happened this week.
Dope. When is how often are games? Like, when do you know when your next game is, and kind of how does it go with the national team?
Yeah, so usually it's like, depending what year and stuff, there's different camps and stuff. There's usually a couple months. So like last time I think it was 2 months, and then I came to the next camp, and then vice versa. Depending on the year, what tournaments are going on, it could be longer or less. But usually there for like a week or 2 weeks or so. Yeah. Most people are coming, they're different scenarios. They're coming from college or professional, like overseas or stuff like that. So like when I come back, I train by myself.
Let's go. How do you feel like, I know it's been over like a year now since the knee. Do you feel like 100%, like, or how different does it feel like do you notice differences? What did you have, 2 ACL injuries?
Yeah, I had 2 ACL injuries, and might have tweaked something again from this past one.
Oh man.
But we'll see. I'll get it checked out this week. I went into it, the first one, going into it pretty well. And then I was practicing with another team just on the side, and we played at like a pretty crappy field. kind of tweaked it a little bit. And then same thing, we went to another field that was pretty crappy and kind of tweaked it a little bit more. But playing wise, confidence and stuff, like there was never an issue.
That's solid.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, I mean, mental health sounds like your sports psych is on point. If you're going out, because sometimes that can really, like, I know those knees can really, I feel like more than any injury, at least in my experience, like people be most timid coming back off knee injuries. Cause it's just,
yeah, I would say for mine too, it was there was contact, but the first one that I did, it wasn't contact in the game. So I was like, wasn't scared about that. The second one was like more of how I landed. So I never was scared going into tackle. Like even when I was out there, I gotten like a couple tackles and people were like freaking out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And I was completely fine. Yeah.
That's solid.